Hello everybody, and welcome to the finale of Let's Play the Dagger of Amon, where we start Act 6, the coroner's inquest. This is where you need to put your knowledge...
Keep this up and you'll put the entire NYPD to shame.
This is where you need to put your knowledge to use.
Thank you for coming to this inquest, Miss Bow. As the coroner on this case, I'm going to informally question you and study the evidence you've collected. If you assist me in developing a case, the perpetrators will be tried in the formal court of law. We're primarily concerned with the museum murders, but we're also interested in the theft of the Dagger of Amon and other matters that may have a bearing on this case. My examination of the corpses has been fruitful, but I need more evidence to build a case. Any information you can give us would help, but you must justify your conclusions with the evidence you've acquired.
That stuff
False
we collected.
accusations and unsupported conclusions will not be tolerated. Although I don't wish to pressure you, your employer is also here to judge your performance on this investigation. Since this is an informal proceeding, I've allowed it on the basis that your newspaper will cooperate with our wishes. Now, to the questions. Who murdered Dr. Pippin Carter?
Okay, so... this is why it was really important to ask all those questions, remember all the details, collect the evidence from any corpse that you found, etc., etc. Unlike in the last game, it doesn't just give you a good story, give you a good score, sorry. It will actually change the ending, because even if you pick the right person and provide the motive, if you do not have the evidence to back it up, it won't work out well for you anyway. Who killed Dr. Pippin Carter? At his body we found an ankh, which would belonged to, of course, Dr. Patatsputut Smith. I believe I pronounced that correctly. And we also found a heel print for a petite heel, which belonged to Yvette. However, those were decoys. Those were planted evidence red herrings. The murderer of Dr. Pippin Carter was, in fact, Detective Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly. And the motive. Yes, you have to pick a motive as well. Two motives will work. Financial gain or to cover another crime. Either of those will work. So let's pick cover another crime.
Who murdered Lawrence Ziggy Ziegfeld?
Who murdered Ziggy? So yeah, that's his name, Lawrence Ziggy Ziegfeld. Ziggy's his pseudonym, nickname, whatever. And of course, once again, Detective Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly, once again, to cover another crime.
Who murdered Ernie Leach?
Who murdered Ernie Leach? Same person, Detective Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly, to cover another crime. So, yeah, these...
Who murdered Yvette Delacroix?
Now, this one's a little bit different. It was Detective O'Reilly who murdered Yvette. And remember those red hairs we found? They did not belong to Steve. They belonged to... yes, the detective. But he did not do it for financial gain or to cover another crime. He did it for... jealousy. Remember what he said before? I'll kill you if I find you with another person. Yeah, he did just that. Or maybe he just had a bad day. But no, it is jealousy.
Who murdered Countess Lavinia Waldorf Carlton?
That would, of course, once more be Detective Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly. Once again, cover another crime.
Who was the skeleton found in the steamer trunk?
Now things get interesting. You, figure this out by the pocket watch that was found. So, the skeleton is Dr. Archibald Carrington III.
Who murdered Dr. Archibald Carrington?
And that was, of course, Watney Little at the very, very beginning, the first cutscene that we saw.
Who impersonated Dr. Archibald Carrington?
Once more, Watney Little.
Who murdered Watney Little?
Then once more we go back to Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly. Now let me explain something here. Detective or not coming to the United States, he was in charge of the case back in the UK. Thus, the police file, which was from Scotland Yard. Detective O'Reilly saw him impersonating the president and recognized him. So what did Detective O'Reilly do? Instead of exposing him, he made a deal. What deal was that? Well, we'll get to that in a little bit. But in return for a certain thing, Detective O'Reilly provided the evidence, which was that file, and gave it to Watney Little. So Watney Little originally came over to work with the Countess and Ziggy for art forgery and theft, but ended up having to do a little something for Detective O'Reilly in order to keep his identity safe. And he did this for another let's say for a financial gain.
Who actually stole the Dagger of Amon Ra from the Ancient Egypt exhibit?
And this is what Watney Little was asked to do by Detective O'Reilly: steal the Dagger of Amon Ra. Watney Little, disguised as President Carrington, had full access to the museum. Dr. Miklos told us that she found him wandering around the Egyptian Museum exhibit at night. He was scoping out the place, and when the time came, he just took it out from under the case. He had the power, he had the ability.
Who manipulated Watney Little into stealing the Dagger of Amon Ra?
Like I said, Detective Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly. So all those other people he murdered, those were to cover up that crime.
Who was the woman involved in stealing paintings from the Old Masters Gallery?
Yeah, we caught her. That was, of course, the Countess Waldorf Carleton.
Based on what we now know, your assumption is correct, Miss Bow. Good work. Who was the man involved in stealing paintings from the Old Masters Gallery?
The man involved in stealing paintings from the Masters Gallery was Watney Little.
Based on what we now know, your assumption is correct, Miss Bow. Good work.
It's not an assumption,
Who was
it's
the
a fact.
middleman who provided forged paintings for the Countess and sold the real ones for her?
So that was Ziggy's job. He was the middleman. So, of course, Lawrence Ziggy Siegfried.
Based on what we now know, your assumption is correct, Miss Bow. Good work. Who is the high priest of the Amon-Ra sun worshippers?
That one's easy. We saw him. It was the accountant, Ramses Najir.
That's correct, Miss Bow. You're very observant. Which museum employee runs a fencing operation as a sideline business?
That would, of course, be Ernie Leach. Now, something, I'm not sure if it really does get explained much, but, Ernie witnessed the theft of the Dagger of Amon Ra, but didn't say anything. That's what he was telling, what's-her-face before, Yvette. So what he did... Now, the dagger was, of course, hidden in the museum gift shop, disguised as one of the souvenir daggers, and, of course, hidden in plain sight, perfect, but Ernie was able to snag it himself and hide it in vat 13, which was why the vat got clogged, and he was planning to fence it himself in order to get the money to cover his debts.
That assumption is correct. Mr. Leach was moonlighting with his own business as a fence installer. In fact, he put up a very nice fence around my house.
I have one final piece of evidence to present, Mr. Coroner. I have an eyewitness who would only feel safe to come forth if I established my case against Mr. O'Reilly. Now that I've done so, let me introduce Dr. Patah Shep Tut Smith of the Cairo Museum.
Mr. Smith's testimony is safe with us.
Many thanks. I was in the Egyptian ceremonial room underneath the museum when Detective O'Reilly killed 2 of my fellow sun worshippers. I saw with my own eyes how he gunned them down without mercy when they
he was
tried
there
to stop
too.
him from chasing Miss Bow.
Although Detective O'Reilly is
However,
not dead.
we only managed to slow him down. His hood fell back briefly, revealing his evil face to us as he slaughtered our people. That son of a camel should not be allowed to run free upon the sands.
Will you testify in court to what you witnessed, Mr. Smith?
Happily, sir. My dead fellows expect their revenge, although Amon-Ra will certainly destroy O'Reilly's car when he journeys through the underworld.
If you say so.
I'm not qualified to give my opinion on Mr. O'Reilly's spirit in the next world, Mr. Smith, but I'm sure your testimony will help your dead friend sleep peacefully. Thank you for coming forth. I must admit that I'm impressed by your methods, Miss Bowe. Not only have you identified the murderers of those unfortunate individuals, but you have also uncovered the skullduggery involving the Dagger of Amon-Ra. Our case is very strong now and prosecution can begin. The New York Police Department owes you a debt of gratitude for your assistance in apprehending these malefactors. I'm sure that a commendation of valor from the police department is in order.
Nice.
Thank you for your help.
Daddy would be so proud. Yeah.
It's all that lousy reporter's fault. Damned interfering Laura Bowe. Thinks she can get away with squealing on me, does she?
And now he has dark skin and black hair for some reason. Oh well.
Well, she's got another thing coming.
So yeah, that the dinosaur jumping down at him
Do
did
you
not
hear
kill
me,
him.
Laura Bowe? You'll pay for this.
Oh, that's why his
If
face
it's
and
the
hair was
last
so
thing
dark.
I ever do.
It was the dust and stuff from the coal, or whatever he's hitting. Uh-oh, he's vowing revenge on Laura.
Thank you for waiting, Laura.
I didn't mind, Steve.
Laura,
Yes?
would you mind... do you suppose... Laura, could you close your eyes? I have something for you.
Oh. I suppose so.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Oh, Steve!
Do you like it?
We're not allowed to have that.
Steve, how could you? How could you have stolen the dagger?
I didn't steal the dagger, Laura. I bought this copy for you at the museum gift shop. I thought you might like a memento of your big night at the Leyendecker Museum.
Oh.
I would not want to remember that.
Thank you, Steve. I'm so embarrassed.
You're beautiful when you blush. Laura,
Yes, Steve?
would you consider joining me for dinner this coming Saturday?
Well, I'm not sure if I don't know if I should really... Yes. Yes, I'd be delighted to join you for dinner.
There you go.
Thank you, Laura. You've made me very happy.
You two have already sucked face, so you
Oh,
might as well go to
Steve.
dinner.
Oh, Laura.
Oh, Steve!
And what happens now?
Since his skeleton was so nicely cleaned by the domestic beetles, Dr. Carrington's bones will soon be hanging on display in the Leyendecker Museum.
That's morbid.
Yvette Delacroix died plastered. A remarkably lifelike statue now lives on in the Old Masters Gallery of the Leyendecker Museum. Her memory lives on in the minds of all she touched. Her sculpture is attributed to Ryan O'Reilly, 1926.
Well, there you go.
Pleased by your success at finding his Dagger of Amon-Ra and his murderer, Dr. Pippin Carter now rests in peace. Pippin Carter's body was transported to Egypt by his cousin and now occupies a place of archaeological honor in the Temple of Amon-Ra in the Valley of the Kings.
Aw. Well, there you go.
Due to your success at recovering the Dagger of Amon-Ra and finding the murderer, Wolf Heimlich continued as chief of security at the Leyendecker Museum. 2 months later, he was married to Dr. Olympia Miklos.
Sweet. That's awesome.
2 years after they were married, Wolf and Olympia had a child they named Morgana Wolf Heimlich. Having died in the course of this story, Watney Little's life of crime came to an abrupt end. As he was not a nice man, nobody missed him. Due to your success at recovering the Dagger of Amon-Ra and finding the murderer,
Dr. Olympia Miklos married Wolf Heimlich, who continued as chief of security at the Leyendecker Museum. 2 years after they were married, Wolf and Olympia had a child named Morgana Wolf Heimlich.
Alright.
As fond as he was of the Leyendecker, Ernie Leach noted in his will that he wanted his body donated to the museum.
He had a
His
will
body
already?
now resides in numerous small jars of alcohol, which will be placed on display in the new Hall of Internal Biology, adjacent to the Hall of Late Mammals.
That's nice.
Dr. Ptah Tut Smith finally gave up on getting the Dagger of Amon Ra returned to Egypt. However, once it completed its US and European museum tours, it was returned to the Cairo Museum anyway.
Oh,
So,
well, there you
several
go.
years later, Tut died a happy man, even though his death was the result of an Egyptian cobra bite.
Oh. That's not good.
After losing his head in the museum, Ziggy found himself unable to continue his criminal career. His head has been preserved and is now on display in the life mask exhibit at the Leyendecker Museum.
Why do they keep using these dead people as
Ramses
exhibits?
Najir continued his successful career as an accountant and as head of the secret Egyptian cult of Amon-Ra. With his strong high society ties, his accounting business made Ramses a millionaire in 15 years.
Well, there you go. As long as he's not doing
Having
anything
died
illegal.
from a snake bite, the Countess Lavinia Waldorf Carlton did not live long enough to inherit any money from her last husband, Sterling.
Serves her right.
Thoroughly impressed by your success as a reporter, your editor, Sam Augustini, nominated you for a Pulitzer Prize and was present when you received your Citation of Valor from the police department. Sam retired 10 years later to become a gentleman cabbage farmer, fulfilling a secret lifelong dream.
Okay.
Pleased at your success, Crodfoller T. Rhubarb was happy to become your assistant at the New York Daily Register News Tribune.
Poor guy. He's our assistant.
Henri Lamour, the coroner, continued his successful career studying dead bodies for the next 50 years, finally retiring in 1976 to tour with a rock band, the Ungrateful Dead. Low Fat continued in the laundry business, eventually opening a chain of low-fat Chinese laundries across the country and becoming a millionaire in the process.
Good for him.
Former Detective Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly was sentenced to 60 years in a state penitentiary. Having been a cop, O'Reilly found it hard to make friends in prison. After your successful completion of the museum assignment, you started dating Steve Dorian.
Yay.
Thrilled with your success, John Bow spent the rest of his life telling people what a wonderful daughter you were and how he had taught you everything you knew about criminology.
Well, he pretty much did.
After your recovery of the Dagger of Amon-Ra, it went back on display at the Leyendecker Museum. The large amount of press coverage drew many patrons to the museum to see the dagger. After 2 years on display at the Leyendecker, the dagger exhibit continued on a tour of museums in the United States, Europe, and finally found its way back to the Cairo Museum in Egypt.
And we get the ending credits. This is, definitely one of my favorite games of all time. I've been playing this game for years and years and years. I remember playing this game when I was like 5 or something. We get the song again. But I am sad to say... That's a huge gun. Yeah, I'm sad to say there are no more games in the series. This was the last one. I know the whole threat from Detective O'Reilly kind of hinted that there'd be a sequel, but no, none of them were ever made. That's really too bad because these are some good games. But make sure to let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you like this one better, if you liked the Colonel's Request better. Because I love both those games. Alright, anyway, yeah. I was actually never, as a kid, I was never able to get the good ending because I had no idea how to answer those questions. I knew how to get through the game well enough. But I was always confused by the inquest because I was a little kid. I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't really know what the motive was behind anything. But yeah, in order to get the good ending, you have to have done this, you have to have spoken to everyone, thoroughly examined the bodies, and collected the evidence. So it's weird, if you collect the evidence, then they have it and they're able to use it. But if you just leave it on their bodies, then the police are just inept and don't know what to do. But yeah, if you didn't see that earlier, the little bugs, beetles, whatever, were carrying Ziggy's head. Oh, and there's Ziggy's head being used as a volleyballer doing their worship thing. Too good. Anyway, but if you do not answer the questions correctly, the ending won't be so good, and of course I will show that off in a bonus episode. So you'll just have to see that, and it's the only ending I ever got as a kid, and I didn't know there was another ending, so I always thought, man, this is depressing. I hate beating this game because then you get this horrible ending. But yeah, you'll just have to see for yourself what happens if you're not able to implicate Detective O'Reilly as the murderer. Of course, you get to see Laura's death scenes there. Well, anyway, well, as before, also, if you have any questions, if you're confused about anything at all, if you have any, whoa, the lip sync is doing that. Oh, and there's Detective O'Reilly in his little cloak. Where'd he get that anyway? A mace? Is that necessary? Probably got that from Wolf's office. Anyway, like I said, if you have any questions, comments, anything to point out, anything... I forgot about that. Yeah, anything you think I may have missed, or if something you want me to show off, let me know. I'll be glad to oblige. And I think that's actually about it. Nothing else to say. As for my Minish Cap Let's Play, I'm going to start that back up once I actually get home from my vacation. So yes, I'm actually getting some time to myself alone in the room here, so that's why I recorded this, was why I'm able to speak in full volume right now, but not gonna over the case, of course. But yeah, just after this I'm just gonna take a break, relax, and I will finish off the Minish Cap Let's Play once I get back home. So you can look forward to that. I hope you aren't gonna be waiting with too much bated breath on that, because anyway, yeah. And of course, we got, because it's the CD version, we get voice actors. Oh, she played both of them. So, well, that's it. That is the finale, and you'll get your bonus episode soon, but that's pretty much it. So, thank you for watching, and have a good day.